In your Brain Friendly Reading Training Companion Guide, you'll find a lesson planning page. This blank lesson planning page can be used for tier 1, 2, 3 instruction. It doesn't matter. At the top, it says tier 3. This includes all the parts of a lesson. But if you're working in a classroom, you might only use a certain piece of this lesson. Today, we're going to work with the short A lesson. It can be found on page 23. In each lesson page, you have a teacher notes box that will give you some helpful information about that lesson. You'll find words, phrases, and sentences. All of those can be used in different ways. Today, we're going to model one way to use the materials in a lesson. This is a lesson planning page I filled out for Jill, who's 7 years old. And we identified that we're going to tap the first chart. We're going to do some sound dictation in the salt tray. Here's the sounds that we're going to dictate. She will write the A 9 times, and then we will arm tap these words orally. And then for our reading and spelling work, we're going to arm tap and write with letter tiles. We'll use our letter tiles to build these words. You can see that there are many different options here. We could have arm tapped and written on paper, maybe made a game, used our whiteboard. We could underline and highlight the skill on our game pages. All of these different pieces are illustrated throughout the training. We'll play the game, the Go Fish game 1, which is the ready-made game, and do the puzzle word I. In your training companion guide, you have 2 different Go Fish games, or 2 different card sets that can be used for different games. One set has a single word on the page. The other set of prepared cards has 2 words on a page. That's the way it is with all the lessons. There's 2 different games. One is at an easier level, one is a more challenging level, and you can also make your own Go Fish game. When we start, it says we're going to tap the first chart. Maybe the children are tapping only using call and response, and every child has a first chart in front of them, and they're tapping it, call and response. The teacher of the video says A, apple, ah, and all the children repeat A, apple, ah, B, bat, b, B, bat, b, and so on. Sound dictation. If you're in a classroom, you're likely not using a salt tray. You're probably having the children do this on a whiteboard in front of them. You could also just have them do that on a piece of paper. I'm going to use a salt tray. I have my list of sounds to dictate. These are sounds, not letter names. I say to the child, duh. The child says back to me, duh, and write, duh. The child says, These are sounds only. Oh, the child says, oh. Oh, I have 2 things here that say k. So I say to the child, k, and they write. Could they put a comma in between them? Yes, but if they're young, they don't have to. And the child writes, That's the sound dictation piece. Then we say the child is going to write 9 times. Maybe we're doing that on the salt tray. Maybe we're doing it on a whiteboard just to mix things up in a tutoring situation. But the child says, ah, 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 ah. They can erase it and do more. They could even do it on a chalkboard if that were available. Next, we'll arm spell these 4 words orally. That means I say the word to the child or to the class, and we arm tap it all together. I say had, and the child says back to me had, and then we put it on our arm. Ad, had. Here's our next word, tag, and the class says tag. Ag, tag. The next word, nap, and the class says nap, nap. You put that on your arm. Next, we're going to arm tap and write with letter tiles. I have my words that I'm ready to dictate, but if I didn't, I could just look at my lesson page and pull words from here for arm spelling orally and to dictate to the children to write. This is a set of letter tiles. These are from Primary Concepts. They're made out of plastic and they're quite durable. There's many different kinds of tiles that you can get, letters that just are the shapes. What's nice about these is there's a capital on the back. We use the lowercase almost exclusively unless we're writing words that are proper nouns or that are sentences. What you want to look for is that the vowels are in red and all the consonants are in a separate color. So what you can do is start with a stack of short A's, the consonants that will build maybe 3 words. That's more challenging. If you wanted to make it easier, you could just do 2 words. You could even just do 1 word and just give 3 letter tiles. That would be the simplest thing to do with the very youngest child. Obviously, the more that you give them, the more choices they have, the more challenging it is. So the first word that we have is nap. So I say to the child, here's our word nap. Let's arm spell it. Nap. And the child says, nap. What's the beginning? And the child pulls down the and you are prompting them. And they get their nap at the end. And if they pull down a different letter, we could look at it and say, let's read it together. Nag. Nag. Our word is nap. Let's arm spell it again. Nap. What sound do you hear? And if the child is stuck, you have your chart out and you can point to the piece of the chart. P, pizza. There's that sound. And the child comes back to their letter tiles and maybe you've removed that for them and they find their and put it together. So children can build words that are dictated to them or perhaps that have a picture that go with them before they are able to come and decode those words. Our next word is had, and we arm spell it. Add. What's at the beginning? What's in the middle? Add. Yes, they probably already figured out that says d. Now you can continue by pulling out more consonants that go with the words that you have prepared or identified for them to be able to arm spell. They may be able to go back and read these when they're done. They may not. That's not the goal. If they're not ready to blend sounds together, that's okay. Some children are ready to be able to blend those 3 sounds together. Nap. Some of them might go nap. They might blend like that. You can see the videos on continuous phonation for how to help with that. You can teach children to blend on their arms. Have them hold their arms out and they look at nap and they go nap until they can put it together, nap. Stretching those sounds out on their arm. It's the exact opposite of breaking words apart. We can read on our arms and we can also break words apart on our arms. We can use them for both tasks. This might be all that you get to in a small group session. And if you did, that would be fine because this piece where the children are arm tapping and writing is the piece that helps that orthographic mapping process. You might save the Go Fish for center work. You might save that work for tomorrow if you're in a classroom for the next day. You might also send that work home for the child to be able to play after they've played it in class. But if you're in a tutoring session, you definitely have time to play Go Fish. Go Fish games can be stored in envelopes. You can store them in Ziploc bags. You simply take the Go Fish page that you want to play with, make 2 copies of it, and then cut them apart. And you'll teach the children how to play Go Fish. Perhaps they're using ice cube trays and you'll play your Go Fish for your repeated word reading. That game is modeled in a separate video. Sometimes you have a game plan for children like Go Fish and the child says, I don't want to play Go Fish. That's okay. You can take that same set of cards and you can play face up or face down memory. Just reduce the number of matches that you are using with the child. So here I've reduced the number of matches. I have the rest of my card deck from Go Fish sitting aside, and we're going to play face up or face down memory. That's modeled in a separate video, but it looks like this. The child turns the card over and reads at Matt. And if they turn over a card that also says Matt, they read it, they get the match, and they keep it. And then it's another child's turn, or it's the teacher's turn. If you're tutoring online, they can be doing this independently. They're the ones that turn the cards over and read the words. If the child reads app and they turn a card over and it says and, oh, those don't match. You can play that you leave up the matches. That makes it easier for children who have low working memory. This is called face up memory. Then the next child goes and turns a word over at. Does that match any of the ones we have out? No. And the next child goes and they turn it at. Oh, I got a match. And you keep going this way. Leaving the cards up makes it a little bit easier. The last piece we were going to work on was a puzzle word, and we were introducing the puzzle word I. This says I like ice cream. I want to go swimming. Yes. You can explore how we use the word I. Today, we're going to be reading I, and we'll be writing it too. I'll start right here. Across, and I connect the two. Across, and down. I. You want to start? Okay. And then the child, you can give them their starting points. Across, and down. And the salt is lovely because it leaves a little bit of an impression. And you can give the child their starting points again. Across, and down. And they can practice in their salt tray. And then if you have a write-on wipe-off board or a chalkboard, they can move to the write-on wipe-off board and the chalkboard and practice their I. So if we review our lesson sequence, we can say we tapped the chart. We did sound dictation. Today, we didn't do any review because it was our first lesson. We introduced the new concept that A says ah. We worked with words, arm tapping words and building words with letter tiles. And we had engaged in some meaningful repetition doing our game playing. So this is the sequence of instruction in the Brain Friendly Reading Program, and you'll be seeing this over and over again